So Lisandro Martinez has been heavily linked with a switch from Ajax to either Arsenal or Manchester United for a fee in the region of 35 to 40 million pounds, around 40 to 50 million euros. And despite being signed by Ajax in 2019 for 7 million euros as primarily a defensive midfielder who could also be used as a utility left back, Lisandro under Ten Hag has now been moulded into a ball playing centre back. The obvious thing about Martinez is his height, as he is only 5'9", but despite the concerns around this, I don't see it being a critical issue, as height doesn't necessarily indicate aerial ability. But before I go any further, if you need a place where you can keep up to date with the latest transfer news, find all the match stats you need from games across the globe, and watch highlights and stream live football matches, then you need to download the OneFootball app. I use the OneFootball app because it's completely free, and not only do they have stats and transfer news, but they also have videos to watch and articles to read, which is where I get a lot of my ideas for new videos. And as I said before, you can stream live football matches and watch highlights all on the app. Downloading the OneFootball app will help support the channel as well, so I'll leave it linked in the description below. Taller centre backs like Pau Torres and Victor Lindelof aren't exactly dominant in the air and can be bullied from these type of situations, whereas there are taller centre backs like Diego Llorente at Leeds who records an aerial duel win rate of just 45%, so it's clear that having height doesn't necessarily make you aerially dominant, and the reverse can be said for Lisandro Martinez, as despite being around 5'9", 5'10", last season in the Eredivisie he recorded 3.7 aerial duels won per 90, the 7th most of any centre back, only losing 1.6 aerial duels per 90, which gives him a pretty impressive aerial duel success rate of 69.8%. Now obviously in the Eredivisie, Martinez isn't experiencing the type of long balls or early crosses that he would experience more regularly in the Premier League, but I do think in most situations he has the know-how and physicality to work his way around situations that other centre-backs may struggle in. Obviously in certain games against certain forwards you could see him having a tough time, but I think as long as he's partnered alongside an aerially dominant centre-back like Rafael Varane, then the centre-back partnership should be able to find ways to work around those issues. From an on-the-ground defensive point of view, I think Martinez is one of the best young centre-backs around, having a stocky low centre of gravity which allows him to anticipate attackers' quick body movements and use his concentration and tackling technique to pin a firm standing or sliding tackle. Unlike centre-backs like Lindelof and Maguire, Lisandro is assertive and aggressive when confronting players with the ball, and I just feel a lot more confident watching him in defensive situations than I do with either Maguire or Lindelof, and this tackling prowess can be seen as last season he completed 2.2 tackles per 90 in the Eredivisie, which was the 6th most of any centre-back, was being dribbled past just 0.4 times per 90, giving him an extremely high tackle success rate of 84.6%, and he also recorded the 9th most interceptions of any centre-back with 2.2 per 90, showing that despite playing for the best team in the league in Ajax, Lisandro Martinez still puts in a high quantity of defensive actions, meaning he's not just an excellent defender but a front foot defender who can move out of the back line to apply pressure and look to win the ball back. Stylistically, I think this would suit Ten Hag and Manchester United, as all of Varane, Lindelof and Maguire are very passive defenders who prefer to hold their position in the back line and anticipate passes in behind, rather than being the type of centre-back to push out and actively look to break up play, as a lot of South American defenders do, including Lisandro Martinez. The real appeal of Lisandro Martinez comes not from his defending but from his on-the-ball ability, as I would say that right now he's probably within the top 5 best young ball-playing centre-backs in world football. This is because he has a whole range of on-the-ball attributes, which is pretty uncommon for most conventional centre-back, but given that Martinez is a converted central midfielder, he's extremely comfortable in possession, being able to receive the ball in a defensive third and having the composure and ball control to play around opposition pressers, whether this is through a quick change of body movement and in the space to then drive past a player, which is what makes him so press resistant, or he could do this for a series of quick passes, working the ball around the press. From the perspective of playing out of the back under high pressure, Martinez is probably the perfect centre-back, as it's almost like having a central midfielder in a centre-back position when you have the ball, and this individual ball playing ability is obviously going to be vital to Ten Hag's whole possession system, as if United can play out of high pressure, not only is this obviously going to allow them to move the ball further up the pitch whilst retaining the ball as well, but also exploit the space in behind the opposition's press, which is usually in behind their midfield, allowing the likes of Fernandes, Sancho and another player like Antony or Elanga to receive the ball in space and transition the attack quickly into the final third. And so this would be one example of what you would say is a direct effect of having an incredible ball playing centre back like Lisandro Martinez. He completed 0.6 dribbles per 90, the 5th most of any centre back in the Eredivisie last year, whilst also completing 6.1 accurate long passes, also the 5th most of any centre back, and this shows why it's in the middle and final thirds where Martinez really stands out compared to other centre-backs. In possession, he plays almost like another deeper line playmaker, a libero if you will, who sits in the left-sided position in the back 2 or back 3 and looks to use his incisive passing to find players in between the lines of the opposition system and switch to play with long raking passes out to the flanks. So as I've said, Lisandro Martinez offers more in terms of creativity in possession than most defenders, as by having the passing ability of a traditional deeper line playmaker, Martinez is able to play in a deep position in the back line and be the main progressor of the ball in the side. In this sense, by having Martinez at centre back, you are essentially giving yourself another top level ball progressor on the pitch, and the obvious advantage is that it just becomes easier to break down deep defensive units because you have more players capable of playing those passes in between the lines and switching the play, allowing you to move the ball into the final third and into goal creating positions. If United are struggling to break down a deep defensive unit, which they have struggled to do over the past few seasons, then with Martinez at centre back rather than Maguire, Lindelof or Varane, Ten Hag would have a centre back who's not only fantastic under pressure during the build up, but can also unlock defensive systems with his passing. But this isn't a new thing in football. We've seen centre backs in the past with outstanding ball playing abilities who become almost a focal point of the team's attack. Ronald Koeman is a great example of this from Cruyff's Barcelona dream team in the early to mid 1990s. Cruyff would use a 3-4-3 diamond shape in possession, essentially creating two diamonds, with the deepest midfielder Pep Guardiola being the link between both. Koeman played as the central centre-back in a back 3, often dropping and playing as a sweeper out of possession and a libero in it. From here, Koeman as the central player in the back line had the time on the ball to pick long raking passes, freeing players making runs down the flanks, whilst also being able to drive forward with the ball into the final third, and what made Koeman so legendary as a centre-back was his goal scoring ability. Koeman was a world-class free kick taker and could score from the penalty spot, as well as long-range strikes as well. He scored a total of 239 goals in 685 career appearances, including a season for PSV where he scored 26 goals in 46 games, and during 2 separate seasons for Barcelona, he scored 19 goals in all competitions, and in the 93-94 Champions League season, he was actually the joint top scorer with 8 goals in the competition. Now Koeman is an old school libero, similar to Franz Beckenbauer, with both being centre-backs who would essentially become a roaming playmaker in possession and drive up the pitch into creative positions, whereas in the modern game, whilst this is still feasible because of the quality of the opposition side's defensive system and the ball-winning ability that sides possess in the centre of midfield, roaming libero role is a lot harder to get away with, and so now we see liberos who still provide the ball progression via their passing but not as much through their dribbling and goal scoring, and I would say that this definitely applies to Lisandro Martinez. However, Martinez does have goal scoring ability when in the final third, as he has scored a few well-placed long-range efforts, so he definitely does have this in his locker if given the chance to push further forward on occasion. But the main question that everyone wants answering is Lisandro Martinez the right signing for Manchester United? Well, United do need a centre-back and a central defensive midfielder, which are Martinez's two best positions, and if Ten Hag did want to switch to a back 3, his on-the-ball abilities would make him perfectly suited to a left-sided centre-back role. So you can certainly see the appeal of Martinez to a manager like Ten Hag, who is tactically fluid and does utilise a variety of different position shapes. I think the reason why some fans are apprehensive about bringing Lisandro Martinez in, certainly as a centre-back anyway, is his lack of height, which potentially could see him get exploited. However, I would say that in regards to that, for some reason a centre-back's lack of height seems to be considered a major weakness, whereas a centre-back's lack of pace, tackling ability, or on-the-ball ability isn't as damaging to his perceived value as a lack of height is. But most centre-backs, even at the top level, have some sort of deficiency, whether it's pace, ball-playing ability, one-on-one defending, or aerial ability. But for a player to excel in most of these areas and have a couple of weaknesses is still acceptable if overall they are a net gain to the side. Quantifying this, I would say that maybe Martinez's height and aerial ability leads to United conceding say 5 goals throughout next season, but Martinez's on-the-ball creativity, press resistance, and on-ground defending all lead to United scoring 10 goals and stopping another 10. Then that's 20 goals Martinez has given United, and so overall Martinez would be a massive aid to the side, despite having a weakness in the air. And to be fair, it's not like United's centre-backs are known for their aerial dominance and assertiveness, with Maguire, Lindelof and Bailly all prone to mishandling taps in the box, and none of these three or Varane can compete with Lisandro Martinez's on-the-ball ability, and I would even say that the Argentine's on-ground defending ability is better than all four of United's current centre-backs as well, being substantially better than Lindelof and Maguire in terms of his one-on-one defending, positional play and aggression, which is why I think he'd be a fantastic signing if United could get him for around the £40 million mark. From a short-term point of view, Martinez at centre-back alongside Varane is going to drastically improve United in possession. In the build-up, his forward passing, ball control, composure and vision is going to improve United's ability to play out of an aggressive press, and this really is the foundations of Ten Hag's possession system, as it's only by playing around the press where the side can then exploit the space in front and move into the final third, so this ability to break the press is a lot more important than people give it credit for. In the middle and final third, Martinez will be a creative threat, being a deep line playmaker on the pitch and looking to thread sharp passes through into players sitting behind the opposition's midfield line, whilst also being able to switch play with long driven passes or create directly with a drilled or lofted pass, freeing a forward runner in behind. But even from a defensive point of view, I think Lisandro will be a lot more comfortable defending in the channels than Maguire, who turns like he's made of cardboard, and Lindelof, who retreats far too much before moving to stop the progression in my opinion. Martinez in general seems to be a much better reader of the game than United's current options, and overall I think he'd be a significant improvement in the short term, and long term I think he has world class potential in the right system, as players like Javier Mascherano and Lothar Matthäus did in the past. I would say he's already top level in most aspects of the centre back role, but he's obviously going to have a few problems. I think given what he brings to the side in other areas, particularly on the ball, I think that Lisandro Martinez could feature at the top of the game for the next decade. If Manchester United don't sign him, I think Manchester City should look to bring him in if they allow Nathan Ake to leave, with Chelsea interested in him. Ake would probably fetch around 30 million and add another £10 million on that, and City could bring in Martinez, who could be used in a variety of different positions, being used as a ball playing defender at left-sided centre back, or as an inverted fullback moving in from the left back position, which I think is a role he could thrive in, as like Cancelo he has tremendous vision and passing ability, and these inverted fullback positions kind of resemble the role of a quarterback in the NFL, being the players who receive the ball and have the space to launch a pass, trying to release players running further up the pitch. Currently City have Zinchenko from the left or Kyle Walker from the right when Cancelo starts from the left, in Martinez's space, but in terms of creativity in possession, Martinez massively improves on Zinchenko and Walker, and he could also be used as a left-sided centre-back when Laporte isn't featuring either. Barcelona then is the obvious other club where you could see Lisandro Martinez's style of defender suiting best, and I think with Samuel Umtiti looking likely to leave for Rennes and Longley to Tottenham, that would free up around £15 million on the wage bill, and Martinez would likely be on only around £5 million, so it definitely seems possible financially. I think a centre-back partnership of Ronald Orejo and Lisandro Martinez looks very good long term, with both having world-class potential and suiting Xavi's style of play, whilst also being different enough where they work well as a partnership, covering for each other's weaknesses and providing the stability to bring out each other's strengths. So let me know what you think of Lisandro Martinez as a centre-back signing for Manchester United in the comments section below, and check out some of my other videos which will be linked in the description.